Breaking news! The Baltimore Ravens could be in for a major overhaul this offseason, and one name that is being touted as a possible addition is cornerback Kendall Fuller. The Miami Dolphins recently released Fuller as part of their salary cap moves, and this could be an opportunity for the Ravens to bolster their secondary. What do you think of him? If you think Fuller should come to the Ravens, hit the like button. If you think he shouldn't come, let us know in the comments. This is sure to be a debate that will divide many opinions among you. Fuller, an experienced cornerback with a solid track record, was cut primarily for financial reasons, not performance. The Dolphins were more than $13 million over the salary cap, and by cutting Fuller, along with two other players, they saved about $8 million. That means the Ravens may have a chance to sign him at a reasonable price. Despite dealing with injuries last season, Fuller still performed well when he was on the field. In 13 games, he allowed just one touchdown and earned solid grades from Pro Football Focus. What's even more impressive is that just a year earlier, in 2023, he was coming off one of the best seasons of his career with the Washington Commanders. He played over 1,000 snaps, had a defensive grade of 83.1, and was a commanding presence in coverage. Baltimore's current cornerback situation is in flux. Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey are expected to be the two mainstays, but beyond them, there are major question marks. Brandon Stevens is likely to test free agency, Arthur Maulet could be a cap casualty, and the futures of players like Trayvon Mullen remain uncertain. Adding Fuller to the mix will provide veteran leadership, depth, and reliability to a Ravens secondary that, at times, struggled with consistency last season. Now, the big question is, should the Ravens sign Fuller? Given his track record, age, and potential affordability, he seems like a great fit. Baltimore's defense was one of the best in the league last season, but injuries and depth concerns lingered. With Fuller in the lineup, the Ravens could solidify their secondary without breaking the bank. Beyond the Fuller discussion, the Ravens are also facing some tough roster decisions. There are several potential cap casualties heading into free agency, including some big names. Marlon Humphrey's name has been mentioned as a possible cut, though it seems unlikely. Cutting him would free up $12.7 million in cap space, but considering his impact on the team both on and off the field, the move doesn't make much sense. Humphrey was one of the top-rated corners in passer rating allowed last season and remains a cornerstone of Baltimore's defense. Mark Andrews is another name being floated in trade discussions. He carries a $16 million cap hit in 2025, and the Ravens could save money by moving him. A recent trade idea suggested by the 33rd team proposed sending Andrews to the Chargers in exchange for a third-round pick. With Isaiah likely emerging as a solid tight end option, this might be a move worth considering. Justin Tucker's name has also been mentioned, but not just for cap reasons. Off-field allegations have raised serious concerns, and cutting him post-June 1st would save the Ravens $4.2 million. Tucker, once the most reliable kicker in the league, had a down year in 2024, making this a decision Baltimore might have to face sooner rather than later. Other potential cut candidates include David Ohabo, who has struggled with injuries and production, Trenton Simpson, who barely saw the field late last season, and Jalen Armour-Davis, who has yet to establish himself in the NFL. Cutting these players would free up additional cap space, allowing the Ravens to be more aggressive in free agency. So, Ravens fans, what do you think? Should Baltimore go after Kendall Fuller? Should they move on from Mark Andrews or even Marlon Humphrey? And what about Justin Tucker? Should the team cut ties with the legendary kicker? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As the Ravens navigate the offseason, one thing is clear: big decisions are on the horizon. With only $8.9 million in cap space, Baltimore has to be strategic in how they approach free agency, potential trades, and roster cuts. The team is built to win now, but making the wrong moves could set them back instead of propelling them forward. One position that continues to draw attention is wide receiver. While Zay Flowers has solidified himself as WR1 and Rashad Bateman remains a key piece, the depth behind them is shaky. Nelson Agholor, who served as WR3, is no longer a reliable option, and the Ravens need another legitimate weapon in the passing game. Names like DeAndre Hopkins, Josh Palmer, and even Devontae Adams, if cut, have been linked to Baltimore as possible additions. Adding a veteran receiver could help Lamar Jackson take this offense to another level. Speaking of Jackson, the Ravens' Super Bowl window remains open as long as he is under center, but surrounding him with the right pieces is crucial. The offensive line could also see changes, with potential restructures or releases to free up cap space. Mark Andrews' situation remains one of the most debated topics. Would Baltimore actually trade him? The argument against it is strong. He's been one of Jackson's most trusted targets Ravens and remains a top-tier tight end. But with Isaiah likely proving he can step up, moving Andrews could provide financial flexibility and valuable draft capital. Defensively, the focus remains on maintaining their elite status. The Ravens have a history of dominant defenses, and this past season was no exception. However, key departures could create holes that need to be filled. Signing Kendall Fuller would be a great start, but Baltimore may also need to look at safety, edge rusher, and linebacker depth. With Patrick Queen gone, the Ravens might have to find another playmaker to complement Roquan Smith. Another major question mark is the pass rush. There has been speculation that Baltimore could target a veteran edge rusher, such as Matthew Judon, who would be a familiar face. If not, the Ravens could turn to the draft, which is loaded with defensive talent. Whether they go after a top-tier edge rusher or bolster the secondary, the Ravens' defense needs to maintain its aggressive and dominant style. One wild card name that's been floated is Jaire Alexander. The Packers' cornerback could be on his way out either via trade or release. If he becomes available, the Ravens could be a landing spot, considering his past connection with Lamar Jackson from their college days at Louisville. While trading for Alexander would be difficult due to salary cap constraints, signing him if he's cut could be a realistic move. Then, there's the Justin Tucker situation. Off-field allegations aside, his performance last season raised concerns. He wasn't the automatic kicker fans had come to expect, and with Baltimore needing to save money, cutting him could become a real option. If they move on, finding a replacement won't be easy, but there are capable kickers available in free agency and the draft. The Ravens have tough choices to make, but one thing is certain, this offseason will shape the team's chances of finally breaking through and reaching a Super Bowl. Every move, from potential signings to difficult cuts, will impact how Baltimore stacks up in a highly competitive AFC. So now, it's over to you, Ravens fans. What should the team prioritize this offseason? Should they go all in on a veteran cornerback like Kendall Fuller or Jaire Alexander? Is it time to move on from Mark Andrews or even Justin Tucker? And who should they target in free agency or the draft? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get the conversation going. With all these potential moves on the table, the Ravens are heading into one of the most pivotal off-seasons in recent memory. The front office, led by Eric DeCosta, has a reputation for making smart, calculated decisions, but this year, the margin for error is razor thin. Baltimore is coming off another promising season that ended in heartbreak, and fans are demanding that this team take the next step. One of the biggest concerns remains cap space. Right now, with just $8.9 million available, the Ravens don't have the flexibility to make splashy moves unless they create more room. That's why tough decisions on cuts and restructures are inevitable. We've already talked about Marlon Humphrey, Mark Andrews, and Justin Tucker as possible cap casualties or trade candidates, but there are other names to watch as well. Trenton Simpson and Jalen Armour-Davis are on the chopping block due to underwhelming production. David Ohabo, a former second-round pick, has struggled with injuries and hasn't developed as expected. Moving on from these players wouldn't create massive cap savings, but every bit helps. Another move that could free up significant space is restructuring the contract of Ronnie Stanley. The veteran left tackle is set to have a massive cap hit in 2025, and given his injury history, it wouldn't be surprising if the Ravens approach him about a pay cut or an extension that lowers his cap number. The same goes for safety Marcus Williams, who carries a $17.5 million cap hit. Baltimore could convert some of his salary into a signing bonus to create additional flexibility. Now, it's your turn, Ravens fans. What's the one move you think Baltimore must make this offseason? Should they go all in on a star cornerback, sign a veteran wide receiver, or shake things up with a blockbuster trade? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going.